hey guys, there's so much on my mind, and so I thought I'd give you guys an update. And it reminds me when I first started this channel, it's just free flow. We just talk, right? And maybe that's what I'm going to do in the future for this channel. But let's back it up. So a lot of you, if you've been keeping up with this channel, by the way, if you still watch my channel, this is awesome. As you know, I kind of sort of just did other things, but occasionally still uploading to this channel. And the beginning of this year, I told myself I'm going to get back into tech out of necessity because I didn't know where this world was going. I didn't know in general. I felt like I didn't understand the tech world in general society. I didn't understand where it was going. So I said, let's study. Let's get to know and understand. So started doing programming stuff, and then middle fall-ish, I kind of started studying more what's called agile methodology, some more management and organizational stuff. And it really helped. All this stuff really helped. And do I feel a little bit more useful? Maybe. I don't know. Does it make me happy? Probably not. But see, some people, depending on how much utility they bring to the table, utility is how much use they have for whatever, it improves their happiness. Some people it doesn't, right? And you have to really understand that about yourself. But so I relatively transitioned pretty easily back into tech. As you guys know, I used to work in tech, but I was more on the non-technical side of tech, right? And now I'm more on the technical side of tech. And the transition was feel very blessed. It was a very, very, I wouldn't say easy, but it was not a hard transition. There we go. That's the way to say it. So in a way, it's you really count your blessings and realize, wow, I was a lot luckier than a lot of people who are almost trying to make a career switch at whatever phase of life. So it's still, there's still things lacking, right? And that's sort of where I am here in this end of year, though, end of 2022. And so I've been taking a lot of inspiration from my neighbors. And one of my neighbors, Sam, I was talking to him last night, and he gave me this really cool practice that I wanted to pass to you guys. So Sam says, a lot of times people, they try to do their New Year's resolutions, they do whatever, right? They try something new, and a lot of them don't stick to it, but they try something new in the beginning of the year, and they keep going with it. For example, I'm an example. I tried something new in 2022, and I stuck to it. I had maybe 3 almost mental breakdowns, but I didn't, right? And then I just stick to it. And then a lot of people, as you know, for those of you who have New Year's resolutions, by the first month, you're already stopping it, right? So what Sam said was his habit is don't do it at the beginning of the year. When things get more chill in the fall, that's kind of where he starts kind of piling up 1 or 2 new habits that he wants to build. So that's something really interesting. And what it reminded me of is think about how our education worked back in the day. You started a new school year in the fall, right? So maybe there's some lingering effects of that, whether college, high school, whatever. You started it in the fall. And so you take on all these new subjects, you take on all these new classes in the fall. And maybe there's a method to that madness. Right? Why did the school year start in the fall? Why didn't it start in the spring or in the summer or in the winter? So something to think about. I don't know if this is a potential solution to a lot of people's inabilities to keep up with a new habit that they try to start at the beginning of the year. Maybe because the beginning of the year, there's a lot of stresses already. So it's hard to pile on new things, especially wintertime in general. A lot of things going on, right? You don't have as much vitamin D. Everything's not as chill. So just something to think about. And applying it to my own life, I want to give a shout out to if you or not. I messaged you privately and I said, dude, I'm taking Hindi lessons. Wanted someone to practice or needed tips. And by the way, shout out to all my Indian viewers. And so we can talk about Hindi real quickly. I started taking Hindi lessons a little bit, and then it's not that I got burned out because my mind was already burned out. So it wasn't the Hindi lessons that burned me out, but I stopped them after a while. I was like, let's reassess a little bit. Let's reassess what I'm doing. And in LA, UCLA, as a lot of you guys know, University of Caucasians, Lost Among Asians. Now I'm demonetized, so I'm not going to monetize this video. But they don't have Hindi classes for non-undergrads until the summer session. And at first I was really angry. I said, why the heck is the language of Hindi not taught as much as it should, right? For those of you who don't know, India's population is already ahead of China's, but officially, because China fudges its population statistics, officially India's population is going to beat China's in 2023. So in my mind, I said, I shouldn't be the only one who's seen this trend. LA being the biggest county, shouldn't there be enough resources, especially there's enough Indians in LA, shouldn't there be enough resources to help people who want to learn, where this world's going in the next 50 years, aka, India, but there really aren't too many good resources to learn Hindi. Anyways, getting back on track, UCLA only offers summer sessions for people who are not undergrads who want to learn Hindi. Even they have what's called an extension. Their extension program doesn't even offer Hindi lessons. That was so disappointing and really shows the education system never catches up. I remember, so for those of you who don't know, I took some programming lessons in high school. And then I stopped it because back then there were no resources. If you got stuck on a problem, you had your professor and your brain. You had nothing else. There was nothing online to help you. And now the world's changed, right? All the answers are in some iteration online. So my programming professor in high school, he said something really funny. He's like, yeah, by the time you get out of college, everything in the tech world you have to relearn because everything's outdated. So it kind of reminds me of that. That's our education system. But now when it comes to language learning or in general, where the market forces, where the demographics are going, the education system is not tailored towards that. So back on track again because, but guys, this is how I used to run this channel, right? We kind of just used to talk and it was fun. In 2016, I would just talk like this and it was fun. And I never, ever wanted this channel to get a lot of followers because then it would sort of lose that charm it had, right? Roasting things, all those funny Chinese dating show episodes. I mean, those weren't fun after a while. It's this type of stuff that's really fun. So back on track, applying what Sam was telling me, maybe it's good to wait around until the summer session to take Hindi lessons. Don't pile it on. I was ready to give it a full go in 2023, and it probably wasn't good for your mental health. So maybe it's good. Let it take a back seat and dive into the Hindi lessons with the UCLA summer sessions. So now I've doxed myself. If someone wants to come say hi, I guess you could come say hi to me at UCLA during the summer. So that's one thing that's been on my mind. How do you build new habits, new skills without burning yourself out? Because I succeeded in getting back into the tech world, but I fully burned myself out. You should have seen me a few days ago, man, even last week. I was just like, I was sitting there studying Hindi, and I said, if I study anymore, I'm going to start just chucking things. I was at a coffee shop, and I usually pretty friendly with those baristas. I was telling them, I was like, dude, I reached this point, I can't study anymore. I cannot study anymore. And you know what I did the next day? I accidentally, because you built this habit, I started studying again. I was like, why the fuck am I studying again? I literally had to stop myself. Because now it's not just books, right? You have your smartphones. You have a lot of different mediums to study. And so just by habit, I was cooking, and then I put on an interview that was an informative interview. One of my, I wouldn't call it my favorite YouTubers, but it was a very inspirational YouTuber, and he's just being interviewed, giving advice. So I was listening, and I was cooking, and I was taking notes, and I'm like, this is still studying, man. Stop studying. So second thing that's on my mind, and this is something that it actually stemmed from a Reddit post, but it's something that once the Reddit post planted it in my mind, I started really paying attention to. So, the things that you did when you were younger, like much younger, like before college, even college, but before college, it really, when you revisit them as an adult, there's something about it, even if you didn't enjoy it, I guess just because it brought you back to childhood, to a different time. Some people call it nostalgia. Some people call it something more. And I don't think it's nostalgia necessarily, but it's something more. The example on Reddit that got me thinking was that, think about the music that you hated when you were a kid. When you listen to it now, it just brings back certain feelings, even if the music still sucks. I think about, I grew up in like the hip hop, rap era, you know, all that stuff in the 2000s, right? And I hated all that music. But now, when I hear all that music, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. So, applying this to another aspect of life, shout out to my neighbor David. So, my neighbor David runs a lot. And I did cross country in high school, and I hated cross country because, as you guys know, I like martial arts, and most of what took me away from this channel was that I just had a martial arts journey, and that was always my passion. So in high school, I wasn't doing martial arts, and it affected my mental health a lot, but I did cross country, and I hated cross country. I disliked cross country. And last week, I got really back into running, like really back into running. I sort of joined this little track club where they sort of did what I would consider cross-country paced running, where let's say you want to run 2.5 miles or 3 miles, but you split it up into iterations, right? You notice I use the word iteration a lot. It's the tech brain. But I just said, look, let's give this another go. Even though I never really enjoyed cross-country running in high school. And the conclusion was, it actually is really fun as an adult. I never thought revisiting something from your childhood would actually be fun, right? But yeah, there's a lot of thoughts going on in my mind about this. Because on one hand, your brain's different now as an adult. So you're analyzing it, you're interpreting it, you're getting new things out of it. But two, maybe there's just something more. It's not just reevaluating it. It's just maybe it brings you back to a certain point in your childhood, and it just invokes certain emotions that you never thought about. I don't know, but I really started enjoying this sort of more cross-country type of running that I used to do in high school that I hated. In fact, I think at least once a week back in high school, I would skip practice with an excuse. And then during the winter months, when it was, I don't remember, I think it was called track. Like every season was different, and I would really skip practice. But yeah, revisiting this sort of running habit that I used to have, it actually really, really became enjoyable. And that gives me a lot to think about. And I'm definitely going to start running more. So I don't remember where I was getting from this, but this is sort of the more spontaneity that I know a lot of the first viewers of this channel liked. So those are sort of two things I've been thinking about. You know, habit building, and then revisiting certain things from your childhood that you never thought you enjoyed, but maybe you do enjoy now as an older person. So those are some things on my mind. And if you've watched it this far, I guess I just want to encourage all of you guys. You know, we're in weird times right now, and you just keep learning, but don't stick to one habit of learning, right? Keep exploring new ways of neuroplasticity, so to speak. And actually, that's the last point I wanted to get to. And this is something I've been talking to my neighbors a lot about too, because I was born left-handed. A lot of you know if you've been following my videos all these years. And my parents switched me over for a variety of reasons. So I think there's a yearning, as you know, crosses over, right? Your right brain controls the left side of your body, and your left brain controls the right side of your body. So, unlike people who are born right-handed, I think there's just this yearning in my right brain to really want to do more, right? So, part of what I've been exploring is, okay, well, 2022, I was very left-brained. The stuff I've been studying, the way I've been going about it's very left-brained. How do you do more with your right brain? Now, taking a step back on this paradigm's a little outdated, right? Because as we know, besides certain things like language versus music, most of the things in your mind is done together, cross-lateral, as they say. So you shouldn't be thinking just left brain, right brain, but there is something to be said about the two brains are very different. Now, yes, they connect, but they're still very different. So there's something to be said about targeting or tailoring certain habits or certain tasks to just one side or the other. So that's another major thing I'm thinking about next year. What are some things right brain related that I could do? And yes, you can incorporate the left brain into it. In fact, you can incorporate the whole thing into it. In fact, I wish I had this book, but there's this book that's been really helping me. It's called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And besides teaching you how to draw in a different way, what it's been doing is just been helping me do things that are different than how you normally perceive. An example I'll give to you right now is when you're looking at anything, don't just look at the thing, look at the spaces. Look at the edges and look at the spaces around it, what's called the white space or negative space, as some people call it. Look at the stuff that's surrounding the subject that you're looking at. And when you start looking at the negative space or the white space, whatever you call it, you definitely get into a different type of mode, as you say. And some people call it R mode. I don't know if that's the right way to call it. Maybe it's just a different mindfulness, because you never notice the spaces around the objects, the things you're looking at, but you start looking at the spaces, which is what I'm doing right now, and it quiets your mind in a different way. So the book I'm reading says it's quieting your left brain, but as we know, the brain's much more cross-lateral than this book is giving it credit. So maybe it's not quieting your left brain, it's just quieting something in your brain. I don't know what it is. So there's another major thing I'm going to think about in 2023, both how to learn, how to perceive things, but just change up certain habits, right? So that's about it, man. I wanted to give you guys all a shout out, and maybe I'm going to do more of these type of spontaneous talks. I never thought, the thing about talking like this is I've been talking for 18 minutes. I didn't even realize that. And when you get into it, naturally, you don't even use too many filler words. A lot of you guys know, likes, that kind of stuff, it affects your quality of communication. And I think when you're really trying to engage both yourself and the people you're talking to, naturally, you don't use filler words. I don't know. I might have to rewatch this video. I'm not going to edit it, first of all, but once I rewatch this one day on YouTube, maybe in a few months, I'll count the number of filler words I have. I really don't think I use too many filler words. So that's another really cool thing to think about. There's speech therapy, there's communication courses you can take that teach you how to communicate using more pauses instead of filler words. But maybe the answer is just be really mindful when you talk. Anyways, I've talked enough. Lots of things to think about. And leave your comments. Let me know what you're working on in 2023 or what you worked on in 2022. What thought patterns, what changes and habits potentially you're thinking about / welcoming or not welcoming. So let's talk in the comments. And to my neighbors, I'm probably going to send this to them because they've been a big inspiration. I will see you guys. All right, guys. Bye-bye.